Hey guys, how are we doing this Friday? I hope y'all are doing incredible. I have something planned for y'all today. That hopefully will make sense. Hopefully. I don't totally mess this up. Today we are doing the circle of life, and it's probably not the circle that you're thinking about. But it is a circle of life nonetheless. And we are going to start our little circle of life with the sun. And the sun is important because it provides the energy for all the life on the earth. So it basically provides the nutrients for plants. Right? Because plants produce the energy that we use to feed ourselves, as do most animals. Right? So you might have, after plants, you might have insects coming in and eating, rabbits, birds, or zebras, various different types of herbivores, okay? So they're all coming in. They can get in there and join in the feeding. And you'll also get antelope and other stuff like that coming in. So then you might have a cheetah, depending upon where they live. Hello. And then we have so you have, almost lost you. So we have our plants, our herbivores, and then we have predators. And predators are important because they're going to be feeding on all of these different animals. And predators are pretty important because they are out there making a living by feeding off of whatever is out there that they can catch. Very, very important. This is the these are crocodiles. Crocodiles, again, feed on all types of different animals. You have lemurs who help to spread seeds. They might eat insects. And gibbons who are primarily out there eating fruit, which is important because animals help spread seeds. And depending upon where you live, this cycle of life is going to look extremely different. So you have your plants. You have herbivores. Those are your plant eaters. You have your carnivores. That's going to be really bad for you. You have sun, plants, herbivores, carnivores. And once a carnivore makes a kill, you then get the scavengers. And scavengers are important. Scavengers are equally important because they help to get rid of all the different waste that is out there. So they include things like coyotes. They include things like vultures and hyenas. But after the scavengers have come and went, you then end up with basically death. Sorry, it's not really a circle. But death in nature is not the end. No, not the end. This is where you get things that break everything down. And this could be maggots, bacteria, fungi. Okay, so all of these stuff are out there. And they're helping to break everything down. Because nature cannot use all of these items just the way they are. Of course, some things take a little bit longer to break down. But after that, the nutrients are left behind. And so we get back to the sun. But there's a lot of other things going on behind the scenes that we don't necessarily see. So, one thing that happens is you'll get a plant and it's out there doing its best life. The sun is up there in the sky. It's sending down light. Oops, my pen just ran out. Well, technically, the scavengers do leave behind stuff, but it doesn't necessarily feed the ground, because the ground is not alive. However, the nutrients that are left behind do help to feed the bacteria that's in the dirt. It does go to help feed some of the fungi and some of the other stuff that helps break down. No, not everything is alive. That's not true either. Life takes on many forms, but some things just are not alive, by definition. So you get the sunlight, and it comes down, and it hits the plants. And that, combined with air and water that's taken up by the roots, that helps make sugar. And sugar is what drives the plants. The nutrients from that body that was left over, those break down and then are carried by the roots up into the plants. And the cycle begins all over again. But, like we talked about yesterday, there is a web of life. No, the nutrients end up in the soil, but the soil's not alive. It's made up of organic material, but there's also inorganic material in the soil. There are living things in the soil, like earthworms and other decomposers that help break down the soil. But and those nutrients that get into the soil from the decomposers do enrich the soil that feeds the plants. That happens, yeah. So your web of life, very, very complicated. And everything has a place on that. Every fiber of that web of life, every organism has a strand. And if you remove something from that web, it breaks a part of that web. Okay? Very, very sensitive web of life. With the sun at the center. But this plays out every single day, every single hour, every single second of the day. This too. The best way I know to explain this is sun, plant, herbivore, carnivore, okay? Now, even this, even the plants, the herbivore, the carnivore, that can get really, really crazy too, because there are steps like on a ladder. And so there's different levels even with herbivores. So nature, very, very fragile thing. Very easy to break the system. But if the system is done right, we have a chance at survival. And this carries out even within the ocean. It looks a little bit different in the ocean, but it carries out in very much the same way. We don't see plants in the way that we see them here, although there are plants in the ocean. We do have kelp. We do have some smaller plants. We have phytoplankton. And phytoplankton is different from plankton because there's two types of plankton. There's the phytoplankton, and then there's zooplankton. And we've talked about that before. So your phytoplankton are your plants and algae, and your zooplankton are your animals. And zooplankton can be fish fry, it can be baby crabs, baby jellyfish, basically baby anything, to just small, really, really small organisms. So after that, you might get animals that eat the plankton, which is kind of funny because whales eat plankton, right? You might get other fish that eat plankton. But you also, the chain, ideally, is basically the same idea. There's always going to be somebody that eats somebody else. And so you can very easily take this that we just got done doing and insert plants, a herbivore that eats that plant, a carnivore that eats that herbivore, scavengers that may live in that area, death of that particular animal, which happens way back here at carnivore. But then you have your decomposers. And your decomposers, again, are going to look very different based on the community that it's occurring in. And then the nutrients going right back into the cycle to help out. If you've heard me talk about marine snow is basically these nutrients drifting down to the bottom of the ocean. But even that does not go to waste. It's surprising how much doesn't go to waste. There are animals that are capable of breaking down bone. Most of those typically are scavengers. But they are able to do it. It's a very interesting ecological cycle. And there are other cycles within this. There is the water cycle, and the rain does help to wash these nutrients into the dirt. Some animals actually help air get in to the soil. Some animals are able to spread seeds so that plants can grow. We have lost some of our herbivores, so some plants have actually lost their tool for dispersing. One example of that is the Osage orange. It's one thing for an animal to eat the fruits, but then you can't destroy the seeds, because if the seeds get destroyed, what's the point in spreading them? An animal like an elephant, not only does it poop everywhere, and that helps to break down, and then plants use that poop for nutrients, but they also spread seeds. So they'll eat a fruit, and then spread it. Something like a gorilla will eat a fruit, poop out the seeds, and the cycle just continues constantly. It's always in motion. What concerns scientists is what happens on our web of life when an animal goes extinct. You start getting holes in the web of life, and those holes are no bueno. They're no good. Other animals cannot find. Maybe you have an animal that is really exact about what it eats, like a koala feeds primarily on eucalyptus. Well, what happens if the koala cannot find the type of eucalyptus that it feeds on? It's going to die out. And if there's a predator that only feeds on koalas for a major part of its diet, it will also die out. Some animals, koalas or pandas are another example. The problem becomes when an animal is not at the top of the food chain. An apex predator that dies out there will be issues when an apex predator is extinct. Because one of the problems becomes this. We're going to say that this circle right here where my finger is represents 200 square miles. And there's plants all within this 200 square mile radius. But in that radius, we have 200 deer. The carrying capacity will only allow for 200 deer. Maybe. Okay? Once that limit is reached, the animals start to eat all of the plants. And that causes problems for the deer. That's when you'll start seeing things like starvation. Whoops. You'll start seeing starvation. You'll see disease. Increased competition. Increased fighting. And then ever so slowly, you will start to see death. So, carrying capacity is very important when we talk about this. We talked about it a little tiny bit when we talked about the buffalo yesterday, or the bison yesterday, sorry. Anyway, I wasn't planning this to be a really long live because I still have a bunch of stuff to do. But, any questions on this? Questions, comments? I am in the process of planning out next week's videos, getting them hammered out so I can record. Well, hopefully that's not needed. But yeah, sometimes we have to. Sometimes we do have to step in. Well, unfortunately, man has decided that some predators are not welcome in certain areas, and so we have had to step up and hunt. We do that sometimes in Africa because too many elephants in one area is not beneficial. And so we have to do something to keep the buffalo in check. Anyway, I do need to go because I have stuff to do, but Mondays will be a full... Well, but they do that in other places as well. So it's just not in America. In Africa, when they typically do it, the meat goes out to the people so that the animal's death is not in vain. It gets given away or sold, something to that effect. Okay, everybody, remember to always keep learning, always be kind, and remember to never give up on yourself. And I will see you on Tuesday for lives. And then Tuesday, we are doing trivia. Not sure what Friday's live is right now. I don't have it written down. But it is posted if you're watching videos. So It'll be there for sure. So see you laters.